Hey, this is Steve Gamlin, the Motivational Firewood Guy. And if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my good friend, Scott Ferguson. Let's level up.
Time to Shine Today podcast varsity squad. This is Dr. Johnny Fever from WKRP in Cincinnati. No, actually, I'm absolutely joking. A good friend of mine that I just am bringing on right here in just a minute, Steve Gamlin. He was Dr. Johnny Fever. That's what he wanted to be when he grew up. And we had such a fun conversation. I wish we could have recorded off the mic stuff because Steve and I have like so much in common with how to help people level up, about work-life harmony and not so much balance. And I'm just going to tell you right now, Steve's a down-to-earth guy. I would refer him to anybody that's looking to level up. We just mesh so well. And you are going to want to break out your digital note taker or just a pen and a pad and paper and just sit back and relax and take some notes because Steve drops some serious knowledge nuggets. So if you liked the episode, please hit the like button, share, subscribe, all that other jazz. It really helps our sponsors and affiliates. So without further ado, here's the Motivational Firewood Guy, my good friend, Steve Gamlin. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast varsity squad. This is Scott Ferguson. And I just had a really fun off-mic, off-camera talk with my good friend Steve Gamlin. And he's got the silkiest, smoothest radio voice. And he's a disc jockey veteran, and you're going to hear it. But he's also the motivational firewood guy. Steve blends positivity, visualization, and humor, helping you see your desired outcomes, understand your why, and build action plans to achieve using this vision board, his vision board mastery program, which we're going to get to towards the end. So you got to stick around for that. Coaching and events. Essentially, Steve's helps to identify what your goals look like, feel like, sound like, and even smell like. And Steve, thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to Time to Shine Today podcast varsity squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
My favorite color is black because it is the color of 90% of my t-shirts that I've been wearing ever since I saw Dr. Johnny Fever on WKRP when I was 11 years old. So yes.
Bro, what a throwback. And man, I had three women I had a crush on in the 70s, dude. Linda Carter, right? Pinky Tuscadero, Weird from Happy Days, and Lonnie Anderson.
Yep.
And then Daisy Duke kind of came around the 80s. So but that's awesome, dude. Then you brought up WKRP. Hey man, let's get to the roots a little bit of Steve a little bit and just kind of feel out where you were, how you got to art, and how you're helping people, level up being the motivational firewood guy.
It goes right back to when I was 11 years old. I wanted to be a radio DJ because of Dr. Johnny Fever. I wanted to be a stand-up comedian because of Steve Martin. Thanks to my mom, she instilled the love of reading and writing. I wanted to write my own books. And a fifth grade teacher I had named Mrs. Farron, whenever I finished my work early, she would encourage me to help any of the other students who might be struggling. So at 11 years old, I wanted to be a DJ, a comedian, an author, and basically a coach to help other people. And over the last, so I just turned 55 recently. So over the past 40 plus years, I've done them all. And people say, wow, that's a wonderful ascension. I'm like, well, hold on a second. I crashed and burned my entire life in between each one of these. And out of the ashes came the next step. You take your nuggets of gold from each. And I basically describe my life as having a phoenix that rides a pogo stick is what it feels like some days.
That's awesome though. Like, cause you with that, what I'm hearing is you built resiliency. You built a vision where you can laterally move, because a lot of people set goals, right? And goals are finished, and then what's next? But if you have that vision, seemed like you set your vision, and correct me if I'm wrong, at like 11 years old, still your brain's still developing, but you knew the course you wanted to go.
Yeah. And it went in almost direct interference with what my parents would tell me, get a good education, get a good job with a good company, put your head down for 45 years and retire with benefits. Well, my brain never wanted to go that way. I was all about the comedy, the writing, creating all these things, being on the radio. And I used to play all the music at the parties, and I wanted to build my own recording studio. And I had the most primitive, the dual cassette deck and the album. And I'm like, I needed a third arm growing out of my chest to hit the buttons. But I used to create these little production, for, at the time, my early teen masterpieces, which I wish I still had. Right now, I'm sitting in the second recording studio that I built in the last 20 years. So
Wow.
from all of those things, I've been a speaker for 18 years. I've been a coach for 15 years.
Wow.
I did stand up for 7 years. I published 4 books, and I get to do everything I wanted to do. And I enjoyed a 10-year radio career as well.
It's amazing. So going back to your parents didn't really want, I'm saying that in air quotes if you're just listening here, Spot, they didn't want you to go that route. Yeah. But did they instill something of service in you when you were young? Were they saying, hey, it's good to do this, and you just kind of took that subconsciously and ran with it? Because a lot of people come from different areas, maybe the hood or, you know, some broken down families, and they kind of transformed that way. Is that your story, or is your story your parents were very giving, very supportive people? And if you don't want to answer that, that's fine.
Oh, no problem at all. Super giving, super supportive. My family and I, we've always been close. My parents divorced when I was in my early 20s, but we've remained close, and they were very supportive. Although my dad would give you the side eye. You know, I remember one day when I was 17, I handed him the stack of notebook paper, and he thought it was a science project, and he was getting ready to, you know, analyze it and see what it was me having rewritten syllable for syllable the entire song of Stairway to Heaven, all 8 minutes and 4 seconds of it, about how much I hated my biology teacher.
Right. You're sitting in there doing it, huh?
I'm sitting here all proud that I'm handing this to him, and he looks at the first one. He goes, "What's this?" I said, "Stairway to Heaven," about my bio teacher. And he looked at me and he checked all the pages, and he goes, "If you put as much energy into studying as you did doing this silly stuff," and years later, after I'd won international awards for the comedy bits I'd produced and written, I reminded him of that. He goes, "Yeah, I know what I had to say, the dad thing." And they were always proud no matter what. If I was happy, they were happy.
Right. Love that, man.
They were there to pick me up each time I went back into the fire and burnt my tail feathers off the Phoenix. Yeah.
That's beautiful. My dad was the exact same way. I remember those side eyes. I was telling you off mic, you know, my dad's a giant man. He'd just be like looking. He never wanted me to be the guy working on the line at General Motors. You know, he always wanted more for me. And now he's cool with everything. But back then, he called me Buck. He's like, "Buck, really?" He's like, "You want to do this? You want to sell cars first?" And, you know, I was dabbling in everything to find my way. I just never, because I did my time in the military, I never wanted to answer to anybody. I always wanted to write my own ticket, punch my own clock. So, but my dad now is super cool with it, but I got that side eye a lot. So, Steve, you work with clients one-on-one or more groups? Coaching
I do both.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I do both, as a matter of fact. Some people, you know, they prefer maybe a little bit of the anonymity of a group, but also the group dynamic. And then other people, of course, it's a higher ticket price to do one-on-one.
Sure.
Other people say, "Hey, Steve, I just want to be able to pick up the phone and get on with you and just deal directly." So I do offer both. Yes.
Good. So let's say you're in a discovery period with one of your one-on-one clients. You know, is there any secret sauce, if you don't mind sharing, that during that initial discovery conversation that you start identifying that blind spot they have?
Typically, I'll ask them what's been going well, and then what's been the most challenging thing. And a lot of times what it comes down to is people believing this myth about work-life balance. And that's where so many people go off the rails, because they think their lives are split into two things. Now, you and I are both in this industry. We understand personal development. I've been on a 33-year journey myself. I teach life in 8 major areas: physical health, emotional well-being, relationships, core values that guide you, spirituality and faith, connection to the world in a real way. And your work, there's one, and your money. All 8 of these things are working together, leaning on each other, part of the foundation 24/7. Wouldn't it be a fine idea to have some say in where you want your life to go? When people see that, they go, "Oh, yeah." But then people go, "Oh, 8 sounds like a lot." Well, hang on. If you take care of your physical health, you get enough sleep, you eat better, you drink enough water, you don't abuse the bad things. You have more energy. You have more energy, you can work more. You work more, you can get more money. You get more money, you can buy back some time and freedom for your relationships. Also, if you got good core values and ethics, you don't have to look over your shoulder.
Right. It's almost like you
One
could do
change affects.
You could do a comedy bit on that with remember the commercial from the 80s where I do more cocaine so I can make more money, so I can work more, like make more money, do more. But you're just kind of put it in the 8 areas. And this is the thing about you and I, brother. I mean, we're only 4 years apart in age. Damn, we look good for our ages. But like a lot of people come to me, I want balance. I'm like, balance is zero, balance is junk. I'm about harmony, right? And you're a music guy, right? So I have the 8 pillars of life harmony, your spiritual, your personal growth, family, community, work, money, living environment, and health and recreation, right? So, and you'll love this because you're a music guy. I liken it to a jazz band, right? So, your God or spiritual is the drums, your money is the guitar, your family is the piano, whatnot. But if one of them is out of tune, it doesn't sound great. Now, you don't have to be Beethoven or Eddie, Van Halen or whatever to be playing these instruments. You just have to be good enough to make it sound good in each of those. I love that we agree on that, bro. That's amazing. I'm all about the harmony. So while you're maybe in that discovery time, Stevie, is there any good question that you wish they would ask you but never do?
I tend to get the questions that I'm looking for out of them. I've had some very unusual questions.
I'd love to hear these.
And actually, one of them happened yesterday. One of my newer clients who's going through the Vision Board Mastery Program, she was stuck on steps 2 and 3 out of 10.
Okay.
And they're all super simple steps. She said, I feel like I'm doing it wrong. I said, let's get on a call. She said, well, is it going to count against the calls that I get as part of the program? I said, no. You have a question during the program, you call. And she said, I feel like I have an inner orangutan who gets confused, gets frustrated, and then just starts throwing stuff around the room.
Right turn, Clyde.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Believe me, if you knew the connection my dad and I had to that movie, Clint Eastwood, Every Which Way But Loose with Clyde, the orangutan, which is why it resonated with me when she said that. She said, I have an orangutan that gets frustrated and just, throws everything around and creates chaos in my whole life. So we were talking about it. And I said, first off, there's no wrong way to do this program. Sure. It's whatever works for you. I lay out the grid, the framework. I hold your hand, guide you through. So earlier today, I was on one of my stock photo sites that I purchased from, and I'm going to find an orangutan wearing makeup and a funny hat. I'm going to send it to her and she's going to put it on her vision board. And that's what I said. I said, why are you so scared of the orangutan?
Right.
Well, she causes chaos all the time. I said, yeah, but you said you're ADHD and sometimes you get that to work for you.
Sure.
Instead of being a victim of it and thinking it's a bad thing. Right. I said, why don't we just find the sexiest, coolest looking orangutan with makeup and a funny hat?
Yeah.
And put that. And she's, by the end of the call, she goes, oh my gosh, I always thought that was the enemy.
Oh man, embrace that.
Weird. And she said, I never even thought to put the orangutan on my vision board and to enjoy it. I mean, not enjoy it because it can cause chaos, but to embrace it and say that's just part of me.
I love that.
And it felt so good to be on that call yesterday.
Bro, really that's amazing because you're almost, for lack of being military, I call it stress testing. You're almost kind of stress testing yourself to see that orangutan, and it opens up a little bit of comedy in there. Like that's probably some of the reason why you did it, but also say, hey, I can live with this. This is part of my strengths. I love it that you listen with your neck and really lean into your clients. That's beautiful. Steve, have you saw the movie Back to the Future?
I did.
All right, man. I can't believe it's almost 40 years old. That's crazy, right?
I know, right?
So let's get in that DeLorean with Marty McFly, man. Let's go back to the Double Deuce, the 22-year-old Steve. Mm-hmm. Is there any knowledge? Like, there's so much to change anything because your life has been pretty fun, right? But maybe shorten the learning curve, blast through, or level up maybe just a little bit quicker. Would you tell us that, Steve?
I wouldn't tell that Steve anything.
Okay.
At all. From 22 to 24, let's see, 22, I graduated college by 62 1,000ths of a point, which was my dad's favorite stand-up comedy routine that his son graduated summa cum this close. Mm-hmm. I was broke and depressed, living on my grandfather's couch for about a year and a half, just doing little odd jobs, doing occasional carpentry with my dad, wishing I knew what to do with my life. And I had a friend reach out, because as friends do, why didn't you ever follow your dream of being on the radio? And I just had excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse. And finally, in May of 92, I did it. I was 24 years old.
Okay.
Went to broadcast school in Boston that summer.
Right.
And drove back home, got an internship at a rock station we'd grown up listening to. And I drove to my friend's house. And he said, where the hell have you been? I said, radio school. He goes, no. I said, yeah. He goes, you get a job? I said, got an internship. And of course, I got the I told you so.
Yeah.
And the I'm proud of you and all that. 3 weeks later, that friend passed away. He was 23. I was 24.
Sucks, man.
And I did 10 years on radio and then blew that all to hell because I was exhausted. I did 15 years worth of hours.
Wow.
But it struck me that a friend believed in me when I didn't.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And that was the seed of me becoming a speaker.
Bro, wow. That's amazing that you go back, but almost 30 years or 30 years and remember that. And that's what really propelled you forward. That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So how does Steve want his dash remembered? That little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date. Hopefully it's way down the road. Your life date and death date. How do you want that dash remembered on that tombstone?
I get asked this once in a while, and I say, you know what? I would love it and be so honored if people just said, damn, it was so much fun having this guy around. Because I either inspired them or encouraged them to feel better about themselves or believe in themselves, or somebody who was on the receiving end of an act of kindness. My family and I have our own little nonprofit called Beach Bum Philanthropy that was founded on leaving as many plus signs in our wake every day as possible.
Yeah.
I would be honored if people just said, my life was cooler because this guy was around.
That's
and I'm
awesome.
good with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. How about, what do you think people misunderstand the most about Steve?
I think I have it all together. and we were talking off the air about confidence. I had somebody blow me off for a call recently, and I finally tracked her down and I said, hey, we had a call. I hope everything's okay. And she said, I'm going to be honest, it's kind of embarrassing. I was intimidated to be on a call with you. And I said, why? She goes, because you're so confident. Your voice is so deep and rich and all that. Right. And I said, well, first off, thank you. I appreciate that. But my confidence can barely drive a car, and it sure can't buy a beer yet.
It's like you and I are seriously brothers from different mothers, because like we might look like it. We're like a duck in a pond, right? We're floating around, but underneath, bro, we're just treading that water, man. And thank you for being transparent about that.
You're welcome.
Steve, go ahead. No, please go ahead.
I have a dear friend who is a Reiki practitioner. She's also a hypnotherapist. And one time she said, I would love to find out what your spirit animal is and do a little guided imagery with you. And we've determined it's a rabbit racing across a field of tall grass toward a mountaintop. And I said, did that rabbit happen to have a bottle rocket like duct taped to its back? Because that's the way it feels a lot of the time. And she and I still joke about that. That was 10 years ago.
And being chased by a coyote.
Oh my gosh, just racing around. But I absolutely love the authenticity and the vulnerability of it all, and openly just sharing, this is where my life is. You and I are not about putting up this wall of, the Lamborghini, the yacht, the mansion, the private jet, the helicopter, the big honking jewelry, and the bank vault full of gold as representations of our lives.
Yeah. Love it.
We're just guys that figured it out. Man, I love
and continue to do so as we go along, man.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I love this.
Steve, if you, in the past year, give me something that you spent $100 or less on that's really helps you level up.
Gratitude journal.
Beautiful.
Just a blank journal that I have underneath the back of my laptop. And every morning when I get up, when I hit my desk after my workout, I will write down the date, the words good stuff, and then 1, 2, 3. And in less than a line each, I've got to describe as emotionally connected as possible my 3 favorite moments from the previous day. No broad brushing. We're talking just boom, boom, boom.
Boom.
Been doing this for 11 years. And every year I buy myself a brand new journal for about $9.
Beautiful, man. Thank you. A lot of people struggle with that question, because they're like, oh man, I bought a course. It was $1,000, but that just something like that is, I each one of my clients says to eat a gratitude sandwich every day. And basically the first line they write is they set their intention for the day. In the middle is their worries for the day. And underneath it, 14 things that they're grateful for. And the 15th thing is a 1-sentence love letter to themselves. Like, Scott, you're great. Let's fucking go. Let's get this done today. I love you. And they have to finish it with I love you. Nice. And so the top layer is intentions, bottom layer is gratitude, and it squeezes out that middle layer of what they're worried about today. And I love that you do that in the mornings, because it is a game changer. So then, Steve, what is your definition of a life well lived?
Life well lived is putting your head down on that pillow at night and just smiling because you came out on the plus side today.
Yeah.
You caused no damage. You caused no pain. You inspired people. You use your hands over and over to reach out, lift some people up, even with just a compliment or holding a door or something so simple.
You and I, bro, we have got to meet in the flesh, man. Because I make I speak in this interview, I speak more than I ever have, just because I am so like you and I make 2 New Year's resolutions every year.
Yep.
1, make someone smile every single day. And 2, unless I've hurt you, disrespected you, or owe you, I don't care what you think about me. Period. And once I started doing that 9 years ago, I sleep like a baby. Before then, I was like, kept awake, worrying about stuff. I love this, man. This is just awesome. Time to shine today, podcast Varsity Squad. We are back, and Steve, we will meet. I promise you. I'm going to get you down here speaking in Florida.
Yes, sir.
Those cold months up there, we're going to get you down here, brother. And you and I will probably sit and have a brain grenade, or if you don't drink, we'll have a kava or coffee or tea or whatnot. We'll discuss each one of these questions, maybe talk 15, 20 minutes on it. But today, my friend, you have 5 seconds with no explanations. And they can all be done that way, okay?
Yep.
Look at his serious face if you're watching on YouTube, guys. He's like ready to rock. Here we go, Steve. Steve, what is the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
Best advice I ever received was to be yourself and use your own voice.
Wow. So, share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Like I said earlier, leaving as many plus signs in my wake as I can all day long. It's a game, and I win every single day that I do that.
Dude, I love that you say that, because I'm going to backtrack and I'm going to break my own rule here, because I have a plus equals minus every day. Another thing my clients have got to do is plus is I reach out to people that I respect and learn from them. Equals is like you're probably a little bit higher than me on the coaching ladder, but we can share trade secrets and share things to love each other up. And the minus is to lift somebody up. And I love that you do that on the daily. And okay, Steve, back to my rules. If you see me walking down the street, you're like, man, Fergie's in his doldrums, man. What book that has really inspired you might you hand me?
Hands down, The Go-Giver by Bob Berg and John David Mann. It is the single book that has impacted me personally.
Bob Berg's my neighbor, bro. He's my neighbor.
Mention my name.
I will. And I'm breaking my rule, dude. I'm writing my parable right now. And I give him I'm doing it in the cities in Florida, and I'm making Bergstrom University. And he laughed his ass off in here, because I see him at breakfast quite a bit, around here. That's awesome. So when you come down here, we're going to go knock on his door. This is beautiful. Thank you for saying that, man. It's one of my 3 most. His book, Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, and then Andy Andrews, the Traveler's Gift. Beautiful. Nice. So what's your most commonly used emoji when you text?
Generally a laughing emoji.
Beautiful. Nicknames growing up?
Ramblin'. From my radio days, Gamlin Man, after the Bob Seger song. That's how people remember my name. And I still got people calling me that. And when I hear it from like 50 feet away, I go, that's somebody who knew me when I was younger, thinner, and had a lot more hair.
Chess, checkers, or Monopoly?
Checkers.
Yeah, me too. Go-to ice cream flavor?
Pistachio.
There's the Ramblin' Gamlin sandwich. Build it for me.
Double dose of kindness every day, a lot of laughter in between, and a nice crust on that bread to just remind you that life is tough sometimes, and you just got to keep biting through it.
I love it. I know you mentioned yours, so you can say it again so we can put it in the show notes, but your favorite charity and organization like to give your time or money to?
Locally, we work with several nonprofits, one of which is called Liberty House here in New Hampshire, and they help homeless and in-need veterans. I know you're a veteran as well, so thank you for your dedication to freedom. And we just want to give back and give these men and women who fought for freedom, just give them a little reason to smile and believe.
Appreciate that. And this one, you have to answer it, because I know you're going to say it's across the board, and you can actually explain yourself on this one a little bit. But what is the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s? You got to pick one, Stevie.
I'll tell you what, and I'll give you the reason why. The 60s, because every time we lost my dad 4.5 years ago, anytime we were doing carpentry projects together, we'd listen to oldies. And I built this recording studio 2 weeks after he passed away. I started building. All I listened to was oldies the whole time, so that he was here with me. So I'm going to go with 60s.
Yeah, I dread that day if I outlive my dad, man.
Yep.
And it's like I lost my mom 3 years ago. We had a really good connection, but me and my dad, dude, it's just like the music that we would have on. Because I was thought you were going to say the 70s, to be honest with you.
Yep.
But I'm an 80s guy. I was born in 72, but whenever I'm editing a podcast or even writing my book, I had the 70s on because they knew how to tell stories, dude.
Yes.
Like from Croce to all those, Lightfoot to those folky guys to Seeger, and you can understand the words, and it's beautiful. And the 80s is kind of what I grew up in, and so many invasions from everywhere in the 80s with U2 and Duran Duran and stuff like that. So no, I appreciate you saying that and sharing that memory with your father. So Steve, how can we find you, my friend?
Nice and easy, stevegamlin.com, Gamlin.
Love it. And he's pretty he's on every social network here, and I'll put those all in the show notes. Squad. But Steve, tell us a little bit about your vision board mastery program.
Yeah, one of the biggest things out there is people hear vision boards, visualization. They go, "Oh, I went to a vision board party once." And I say, "Oh, let me guess. It sounded like this. We're going to have wine, cheese, crackers, scissors, glue sticks, glitter, magazines, poster boards." And they go, "Yeah." I go, "Well, what happened?" "Oh, it didn't work." Here's why. Here's why I created my program. When I blew my life up 20 years ago, radio career, first marriage, and any shred of financial stability gone, I put it back together out of the ashes and slowly learned all this stuff. And then I created a program because somebody said, "Oh, Steve, I love what you did with your life. How can I do mine?" I took all my notes, recorded them, and made a program out of it. It is literally the journey that I took to put my life back together.
That's awesome, dude.
With my voice guiding you. That's literally how it all came about. It was not this grand plan to fleece the world with another motivational project. It's actually straight out of my notes and my journey. And I love it when it resonates for people and that they get it because of something that I struggled through and just took a lot of notes on.
That's awesome. And I believe what vision board, because I have mine over here and it looks nothing like a vision board. Most of my stuff is like postings and quotes and stuff like that. Actually, Bob Burgs is right at the top, the 5 laws of stratospheric success, right? From the Go Giver. But it's because people would go through like motivation, firewood motivation guy, but when they leave, even if I speak and I level up an audience, it's they lose that and they make it wanes on them. A vision board, if you set it up the way that works for you, works. It keeps that subconsciously kind of coming in through your peripheral. And I love that you do that. And Steve, if you could, do me one last solid and leave us with one last knowledge nugget we can take with us, internalize, and take action on.
Yeah. Know what your goals look like, feel like, sound like, and even smell like. Attach every sense to any goal you're thinking about. And even more important, find a deeply emotionally connected to your gut reason why you want something. And that is going to be the gas in your tank. The why is going to keep a little pebble from becoming a Jersey barrier. And the deeper you can connect to it, I mean, if it makes you cry because you want it so bad, you're pretty close.
Yeah. And you'll get after that as well, for sure. Yeah. And squad, I just had one of my funnest conversations ever with somebody that kind of aspired to be Dr. Johnny Fever from WKRP. We're dating ourselves a little bit. He had role models like that. He kind of looked at, not role models, but, things to aspire to. Steve Martin, but he came from a family that was about service, that always wanted to help. And when he starts to work with clients, he digs deep with powerful questions to find out what's been going well in their life, what's been going wrong with their life, what is their biggest challenge, and he'll set up a protocol to help you work through it. Him and I really disagree with harmony. I'm sorry, with balance. Balance is kind of zero, people. We're more about harmony and taking his 8 pillars or my 8 pillars and mesh them together to blend into just something awesome. Steve's somebody that listens with all his senses, and like he mentioned just a minute ago, all his senses, but he listens, and I really believe he's a coach that listens with his neck, man. He really leans in and wants to get your story, your why, so he can set up that plan of attack. And I've really heard that he trusts his intuition, follows his dreams. And when he didn't know how to, he got his asking gear and asked people to help for that guidance. He wants to be remembered as someone that had, it was so much fun having Steve breathing air on this earth because he made people better. And it's someone that's transparent, that admits he doesn't have it all together. And I absolutely love that transparency because Steve is someone that I believe is planting trees he's never going to sit in the shade of. And that's the kind of people I want to align with. And I know that you want to align with as well. He's someone that wants to go to bed with a smile on his face. And he knows that he served, inspired, and lifted people up. He wants you to be true to your own voice and know what your goals look like, taste like, smell like, touch like, any kind of senses. Emotionally connected those goals to your gut, and your why will show up and the protocol will appear. And that's what my good friend Steve does. He levels up his health. He levels up his wealth. He's humble, yet he's hungry. He's got that silky, sexy, smooth radio voice. So I just absolutely love this guy. He's earned his varsity letter here at Time to Shine today. Absolutely love your guts, Steve. Thank you so much for coming on, brother.
My pleasure. Thank you.
We'll chat soon, my friend.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast. Proudly brought to you by Sutter & Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you're a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.